Good evening, Year 11s. This is your night before news for RE Paper 2, your final RE exam, which is tomorrow afternoon, 16th of May. And this is just some information to help prepare you. We're mainly going through two things. Number one, what's in the paper, and then number two, what are some key things to remember as you're going through. So first off, what's in the paper? This is thematic studies, so it's not like the Islam and Christianity paper where you get the lines. There are 6 themes, but you only do 4 of them, and that's the key thing to remember. You only do the themes that we've looked at. You completely ignore 2 others. So the themes that we've done is religion and life, which looks at animal rights, stewardship, dominion, abortion, and euthanasia, how the universe was created, the afterlife. And then theme C, the arguments for the existence of God, design, first cause, but then also looking at revelation. Theme E, which is religion, crime and punishment. And then theme F, religion, human rights and social justice, which is the one we did most recently. And the key thing to remember is that you just ignore themes A and D. Don't have a look at them. There are probably always questions on there that you could pick up marks on because you're very capable, but just don't do them because you won't be able to achieve as well as you do at the other themes. Don't go rogue, just stick with what you know. And the paper setup looks like this. So you've got all 6 themes in a booklet, and then it will have A, B, C, D, E, F, and then it's got all 5 questions which are written out, the 1, 2, 4, 5 and 12 markers. Key things to remember for the exam will be, first of all, to name the religion. So remember that you're not, like in Christianity and Islam, just automatically going to be talking about one religion. You can talk about any of the religions that you've looked at. So you've looked at Christianity, there'll be bits maybe on theme F where you could talk about Islam. It might be just that you get a question, you think, hey, yeah, I know something we looked at with Islam which you could use, in which case go for it. But the key thing is to make sure you name the religion you're talking about. So I would say never in the paper say some religious believers. Don't be that vague. Make sure that you're putting Christians believe, other Christians believe, Catholics think, some Muslims would say, other Muslims would say. So be specific with the religion that you're talking about. Obviously make sure as well, like on the other paper, that you are not confusing the Bible and the Quran. So if you're talking about Christianity, it's the Bible. If you're talking about Islam, it's the Quran. And just go through, if you've got any time left at the end, just go through and just reread and make sure that every time you've said where do quotes come from, but also then have you got it correct, Bible or Quran. And your key teachings, so remember that if you're stuck on a question, self is always a great place to go for. So sanctity of life, humans are made in the image of God, Bible quote, in the image of God he made them. Belief in equality, because all humans are made in God's image, or you could use the Bible quote, for God does not show favoritism. Love your neighbour as you love yourself. And then forgiveness, forgive 77 times. All key teachings which you can use for all kinds of questions. And it's important to remember that every question is marked individually. So you could use sanctity of life in your 4 marker, and in your 5 marker, and in your 12 marker feasibly. Obviously you want to try and use a range of quotes. Don't try and just shoehorn self into everything. There are some topics which you just can't use it for. But if you can, just keep it simple. So if you're asked, explain 2 religious beliefs about sexism, you can say, well, it's wrong because of the sanctity of life, and it's wrong because of the belief in equality, or it's wrong because of the belief in love, for example. So use self to help you out. And remember that sometimes on the 4-mark questions, you might be asked to refer to the main religious tradition of Great Britain, and in which case you need to make sure that at least one of the points that's in your answer is a Christian one. So you can refer to 2 Christian perspectives. You can go, some Christians believe, other Christians believe, but if it's asking you to refer to the main religious tradition of Great Britain and 1 or more other religious traditions, at least one needs to be Christianity. But, important thing, they can both be Christianity. Remember that particularly in the 4 markers, you might be asked for 2 contrasting or similar religious beliefs. If you're asked for similar, obviously they're just relatively similar, so they might agree with each other, or it might be that it's, Christians believe it's important to give away your wealth. Muslims also believe it's important to give away your wealth. Those would be similar beliefs. Or the death penalty is wrong because of the sanctity of life. The death penalty is wrong because it doesn't love your neighbour. They're similar. But then it will also sometimes ask you for contrasting religious beliefs. And if it asks you for contrasting religious beliefs, what you need to do is remember that it's asking you for different perspectives, not necessarily opposite. So if it asks you for 2 religious perspectives on euthanasia, you don't need to say Christians would agree because, or Christians might disagree because. you could go agree twice, but then give different ideas. Although if you can give opposite ideas, it's probably sensible to go for it, because then obviously they're very different, but they don't necessarily need to be. So if it's two contrasting religious beliefs about the use of wealth or about racism, generally you're going to struggle to find Christian or religious perspectives that say racism is a good thing, so you're probably going to go two reasons why racism is wrong, but make them different ones. So sanctity of life and loving your neighbour, they're different. Remember as well that being for or against something is not enough for a mark. So for example, if you're asked to explain two religious beliefs about prison as a form of punishment, you won't get a mark if you say Christians believe that prison is a good thing, or Christians believe that prison is a bad thing. If you were asked for two contrasting religious beliefs about animal experimentation, just saying Christians are against animal experimentation isn't enough for a mark. You need to say why. So for example, you might say some Christians are against the death penalty because of the sanctity of life, and then say this is supported by the Bible quote, in the image of God he made them. So make sure that if you're saying they're for or against, give as much detail as you can. And then remember as well that you must include religious perspectives in your 12 markers. Most of you did this really well, but some of you in your 12 markers were just capped with individual questions where you talked about a load of really good material, but if you don't give religious perspectives, then you are capped at 6 marks. So make sure that you're always using as many bits of scripture, Christian, Muslim perspectives as you can. Remember as well that in your 12 markers, if you're answering a question, you can talk about multiple religious perspectives. So you could say, if it's on abortion, for example, no, that's a bad example. Let's say it's on wealth, so a topic where we could talk about Christianity and Islam. You could say, well, it's important to give wealth because Christians would say the power of the sheep and the goats teaches that you should be generous with your wealth, in which case you're helping Jesus and you'll get to heaven. And you might say, additionally, religious believers should help because Muslims would say that giving zakah is important as it purifies your wealth, something like that. So those are my key tips for paper 2, and we will be together at lunchtime tomorrow to be able to go through some more information and ask any last questions that you've got. But get a good night's sleep, put your phone away, and have a good breakfast in the morning.